and Deathness Raptor can get it done against a Mantis Rider.
Flyers are pretty nice against that setup.
Yep.
It's definitely a keyword that goes up in value. People are playing with high quality attrition ground creatures.
It's a Temple of Silence to start things off here for Mondello. Top card's going to stay on top. As we are underway here in round number 5, you can see Harlan already does have a copy of Mantis Rider in hand. His draw for the turn was a Dig Through Time. His land for the turn is a Temple of Epiphany. Top card will go to the bottom. It will head Mondello's way. He's going to play a Thoughtseize. We'll see exactly what Fear is up to. As I did mention the Dig Through Time, the Mantis Rider, he's actually got 2 of those, along with the Goblin Rabblemaster, a Soulfire Grandmaster, and 2 lands. Colors are good to go.
And you can see one of the vulnerabilities of Jeskai decks in general here with Harlan's hand. It's just a lot of 3-mana plays.
Yep.
Jake does have the option of taking Soulfire Grandmaster, though long term it is the lowest impact card in the hand. As a curve consideration, it's the best card to take. Past that, I think you're looking at Dig Through Time because all the creatures are so redundant here, but it's possible Jake has a hand of, say, a removal spell and ways to gum up the ground, in which case you could take a Mantis Rider. So there's a lot of different options given what the nature of Jake's hand could be.
Rabblemaster's going to bite the dust. Temple of Malady will be the follow-up. A little scry action here from Mondello. You can see his hand. He's got a copy of Abzan Charm. Deathness Raptor, Jamoka's Command. Looks like Den Protector over there as well. So pretty nice hand here for Jake as we head back Harlan's way. His draw is another copy of Mantis Rider. There's a Battlefield Forge. Here's a Soulfire Grandmaster, and we'll go back Mondello's way. Courser of Crewfix, the draw. Forest is the 3rd land. Sandsep Citadel is on top of the deck. And in just a moment here, Mr. Sullivan, I think we will see ourselves a little Mantis Rider action.
And I suspect that if Jake took the Rabblemaster out of his hand, that he probably drew the Courser that turn. Because Coursers are pretty good. If you get Courser out and play in front of a Rabblemaster, it's a pretty good response.
Fear with the Mantis Rider comes across for 3 points of damage in the air, and it'll be on Mondello to consistently answer these things. We know that Harlan has 2 more copies of Mantis Rider in hand.
And 0 main deck copies of Bioblight in Jake's list, so he's going to have to answer these on a 1-for-1 basis.
There is a Temple. That'll trigger the Courser. Deathness Raptor is the top card of the deck. Of course, revealing that because Courser is in play.
See, Den Protector in Jake's hand as well passes the Deathness Raptor. You can see, you know, that base of creatures not very good at defending the air.
Yep. Mantis Rider wouldn't surprise me that it's a real weakness for this deck.
Yep. You still have a lot of removal spells. You still have your Abzan Charms and your Hero's Downfalls and such, but right now, Jake is a little bit behind.
Another Mantis Rider. Harlan has to take some damage to cast these, but it's life. There's Abzan Charm. That'll take care of 1. Pass the turn back to Mondello. Temple of Plenty, the draw. See the top card of the deck now is a copy of Windswept Heath. So, lands. Jake's got a lot of options for those. He's going to go with the Heath off the top of the deck. That'll trigger a Courser, of course. And now Courser of Crewfix is the top card of the deck. So we could see Mondello do something like play a Death Mist Raptor and then Jamoka's Command here.
Wouldn't be a bad turn here. Would still need to have an answer to the 3rd copy of Mantis Rider, but pretty good start. Can gain some life along the way with this Courser of Crewfix. So as difficult as it is for Abzan Megamorph to answer the air, you can see the ground very effectively locked up.
So easy.
The Soulfire Grandmaster thus far has been a mulligan.
Yep.
Has not attacked, and doesn't look like it's going to be very likely to attack.
Courser's checking that thing. Deathness Raptor, Den Protector can do the same. Top card's Elspeth. Mondello's going to play old Deathness Raptor. Now it's time for Jamoka's Command, it seems. So he's going to start by attacking. I actually like this a lot. Because if there's a block here from Mantis Rider, what Mondello can do is use Jamoka's Command. Give +1/+1 to the Courser, and then fight the Soulfire Grandmaster. He's going to cast Jamoka's Command now. So there's your +1/+1 in a fight. Mantis Rider off the table. 3 damage dealt. Good turn all around.
Might as well attack there first, because in the event that Harlan does block, you get it all.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't block, you just get to do what he did. So
there's some real high upside there.
Yeah, exactly. It costs him nothing, and possibly Harlan puts a block out there, and then it's really, really good.
Harlan does have a third Mantis Rider, and again, Mantis Rider is clearly a good card in this matchup. All the text on the card is very relevant, but Harlan has to keep taking damage to cast it, 2 to be exact, and of course he's doing a nice job of helping Mondello really keep his head above water and potentially just win the race here.
Well, you know, Harlan can't do anything on the ground. His draw steps have not been that helpful. He's found another copy of Dig Through Time. You can see there's nothing going on in his graveyard right now. A second copy of Soulfire Grandmaster. The first one's doing nothing. So he's not casting 2 spells a turn, and his draw steps have not been that cooperative. So not a lot to be done.
Elspeth the draw, Temple of Silence on top of the deck. It's going to enter the battlefield thanks to the Courser, so there will be a trigger. Deathness Raptor is the top card now. Courser just going to work here. Deathness Raptor becomes the bottom card. Top card of the deck is Temple of Malady. We'll see what the follow-up is here for Mondello. Looks like this is a pretty easy place to start. He'll just go attacking. Looks like Mantis Rider's going to have to D up a little bit here. Not where Mantis Rider wants to be.
Nope.
And that's not where it's going to be. See what the follow-up is here for Mondello. It's going to be a morph, I believe a Den Protector with the necessary mana to unmorph it. It's 11-4 in favor of Mondello.
Modern Challenge pairings on pink paper.
So now Harlan, having drawn a 4th land this turn, does have the ability to play another Soulfire Grandmaster and Valorous Dance, which is at least something. I don't know if it's going to be enough to get him back into this game, but he's finally going to be able to fire 2 spells in 1 turn.
Well, here's the attacks. Soulfire Grandmaster and Mantis Rider, of course, coming to the red zone. So we'll see if Jake has any interest in trading his face-down creature, his morph, with the Soulfire Grandmaster.
I suspect the answer is no.
Looks like you suspected correctly.
I mean, the risk, I suppose, is now Jake is in double lightning strike range, but given that he knows about Harlan's hand from that Thoughtseize, it seems very unlikely that that's been going on.
Yeah.
He'd also probably would have seen the lightning strike at some point earlier, checking a Deathless Raptor or so forth.
5-7.
Excuse me, he's still not even in that range. I thought he was falling to 6.
Yeah, I thought he was falling to 6 as well. There's another Soulfire Grandmaster. Valorous Stance, 2 Dig Through Times here for Fear.
Yeah, it has not drawn that well. Taking a lot of damage off of his lands. The Soulfire Grandmaster wasn't helpful the first time around, and the Dig Through Times are just stranded.
Fleas Main Lion's top card of the deck. Well, Mondello does have Elspeth in hand. Oddly enough, Elspeth not actually all that great on this board.
I mean, the game's not going on for anything past this turn and then possibly Harlan's turn. Jake wins on the way back. So
yeah.
Elspeth really doesn't amount to more than make 3/1/1 tokens the way this game is shaping up.
6 mana make 3/1/1s, not all that impressive.
Not a great deal.
Looks like maybe it's just going to be Courser. If that's the case, this Valorous Stance looks pretty nice.
Harlan can double block and try to trap him here.
Could just chump block, get 2
Okay.
life as well.
Yep.
Which is probably just fine.
I don't mind a chump block here because Jake's got the ground locked up, particularly because of the Elspeth that Harlan knows is coming. So that's not a bad spot to chump block.
No play here for Mondello. Wild Slash the draw. Looks like Jake wants to be able to activate his Den Protector. By activate, I mean Unmegamorph, and then play Absalon Charm the same turn.
Yep.
That doesn't look to be the case. Just going to go down to 5. Interesting. Curious as to what he is setting up.
I wonder if Jake is worried about something like disdainful stroke.
Yeah. To see him do nothing that turn is very interesting.
Yes. Because now Harlan's going to get an opportunity, most likely, to cast dig through time.
It'll be a little bit painful. He'll have to take 1 from the Shivan Reef, but that's okay.
You know, he still gets another chump block where he gets to gain life if he wants it.
These two guys definitely posturing.
I was just curious to see Jake pass on casting Elspeth and then pass on unmorphing the Den Protector.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the game's only going to be played for so many more turns. Both of those plays are all of his mana for 1 turn, so he's sort of conceding on one of the 2 cards, at least, if he's not going to cast one of them last turn.
See which one Soulfire Grandmaster is going to jump in front of. So Harlan's going to gain 2 and then end up taking 3, so he'll lose 1 life total. No, 6. Another card in the graveyard that's pretty nice there. Here's Fleece Mainline. Still with the ability to unmorph Den Protector and cast Abzan Charm, but the question is how relevant is that now? Because now Harlan actually has kind of like he has a winning line here, which is Wild/U. Puts you to 4, try to find a Stoke.
Yeah.
Or some combination of burn spells. Gonna unmorph Den Protector, will Mondello. Jamoka's Command.
And with Harlan sitting on a Valor stance here.
Yeah, that's good too. Kind of interesting if he's supposed to Valor stance here or not.
Yeah, no, it is a good question because the dig through time might yield more kills in the spot with Jake falling to 4.
Oh, we're actually. This
Okay,
is we don't see this mode very much.
So it looks like Jake is going to fight here and prevent all the damage from a spell.
Yep. We don't see that very often.
But Harlan's still got a shot here. He can dig into Lightning Strike.
Yep. And you can just draw Stoke the Flames too.
Yeah.
That'll work just fine. That's exactly what he's going to do. Harlan Fear is going to win game number 1 here against Jake Mondello. Jeskai Aggro wins game number 1 here over Abzan Megamorph. And a strange kind of back and forth where it felt like either player could win.
Now, I believe I understand the line of play there from Jake, which is basically he was trying to sit on the ability to rebuy Dramoka's Command to beat a burn spell.
Sure. Which makes more sense now.
Yes. The issue is that he was able to set up that line of play and still lost.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if he's supposed to push his advantage a little bit earlier there.
Definitely could have gotten more aggressive with his attacks because there was the 1 turn where he attacked with just Courser and not Deathmist Raptor and left Deathmist Raptor back on defense a little bit, which allowed Harlan to get a couple of chump blocks with his Soulfire Grandmaster and gain some life and buy some more time to get to that stage of the game.
From the spot of Jake has a sizable advantage in play to Jake is now threatening lethal, it took a very long time to get there.
Yeah.
And in those draw steps, Harlan was able to find something to do, even though his draws were not very good in the interim turns after that Thoughtseize.
To the sideboards we're going to go, and we will start with Mondello, which you have in front of you.
A Sorin Solemn Visitor, 3 copies of Drowned Sorrow, and Russian Cleric, 2 copies of Hidden Dragon Slayer, 2 copies of Duress, a Crux of Fate, an Utter End, a Thoughtseize, an Elspeth Sun's Champion, a Foul Tongue Invocation, and an Aeonach Survivalist. I like the Foul Tongue Invocation a fair bit in this matchup. There's a lot of, just chunky threats out of Harlan's side of the table. I think Crux of Fate is reasonable here. 2 copies of Duress I think is fine, as Harlan's likely to be sideboarding into spells if he's bringing in anything. And I think Sorin is pretty solid in these kind of matchups.
For Harlan, he's got an Erase, 3 Disdainful Strokes, a Valorous Stance, 2 Negate, 1 Glare of Heresy, 2 Anger of the Gods, a Narset Transcendent, the Planeswalker that we don't get to see a ton of, and hostilities, a Dig Through Time, and a copy of Stratus Dancer.
I like kind of going bigger here. I think I like the end hostilities, the Dig Through Time, the Narset, and the Anger of the Gods. It's an interesting thing now with these counter spells. In the old builds of Obzan, you would definitely want Disdainful Stroke. That's just a no-brainer. But now that so much of this power is coming from morphing, I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. I would still have to see more of the games in action, I think, before I would feel confident about that one with the other. But I think the big stuff in Harlan's sideboard here will be very good.
And these players will shuffle up here for game number 2. That will be underway here in just a moment. But in the meantime, we will talk about the Star City Games YouTube channel, where you can see all these fantastic things, including the replays of the Open Series.
Absolutely. We got a bunch of stuff archived there, like the Open Series. There's some stuff that exists only on the YouTube page, like the unboxings, for example. And you can go back and see some Versus Series, some premium articles. It all exists there. YouTube.com/StarCityGamesVideo. You can become a subscriber to that page and just get updates and notifications when new stuff gets posted.
A lot of cool stuff going on there. The unboxings I know are really popular, and I know some more are coming out now soon because of Dragon's Dark here, and some new old sets as well. So definitely check that out, subscribe. You'll get a notification when new stuff does go up. And of course, the premium archives as well, the premium Magic Online videos and Versus videos that are done in Star City Games after 30 days get moved over there.
Exactly. I think people are under the perception that that stuff is just behind the paywall for forever.
False.
Of course, a lot of it's going to be standard oriented, and if you want to get the updates as soon as possible, well, then you're going to want to be a premium subscriber. But if you just want to go back and look at some of that old premium content, it all exists on the YouTube page.
Game number 2 here between Mondello and Fear will be underway here in just a moment. Though if you are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, Ken Crocker in the sideboard, along with the rest of the SCG Live crew. We are here from wonderful Cleveland, Ohio, at SCG Live, hashtag SCGCLE, for your tweets all weekend long. If you want to tell Patrick how much New Jersey sucks, if you want to tell me how great Cleveland is, feel free to use those hashtags.
Please do.
Or you can say other stuff too.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, it can be Magic related. It can be City related. Either way, join the conversation on Twitter as we work our way through season number 2 here of the Open Series. Kevin Jones, Gerard Fabiano, Ross Merriam, Joe Lissette, all in attendance this weekend, right at the top of the standings for Season 2. One of those players you have to imagine is going to win the invite to the Players' Championship based off of points. Just don't know who it's going to be. Danny Jessup, I suppose, could as well, but he is not here this weekend.
Yeah, the gap between the 5 players in question and then Logan Mize and Dylan Donegan is so great that I feel like it's got to be one of those 5.
Yeah. And Joe Lissette didn't expect him to make the trip this weekend, but he has. He's off to a little bit of a rocky start, 3-1 so far, but he is a former Standard Open champion. He won a Standard Open at our Season 1 Invitational with Jeskai Heroic, 4-time Standard Open champion, though known as a Legacy Master, with his 1 Legacy Open win.
I know, and not a lot of success recently in the format.
Yeah.
In 2013, 2012, he was doing a lot of damage, but did not have a great 2014, I would say, by Joe's Legacy standards.
I know that Joe streams a lot, and he streams Miracles a decent amount, but he's been playing Reanimator in live Legacy tournaments. I wonder if he's going to make the switch back. We're underway here in game number 2. Temple of Silence for Mondello, a Temple of Epiphany for Fear.
And it looks like Harlan has brought in his Stratus Dancers as well. And when I was watching him sideboard, he has 4 main deck copies of Jeskai Charm and his Wild Slashes, and those all got cut. So he became a lot more creature-oriented in the post-board games here. Which I like, because Jake's deck does kind of pick up little pieces of life here and there, and burning them out's a challenging thing to do.
Fleet's main line on turn 2 there for Mondello. Forrest found off the Windswept Heath. That's why he's at 19. There's a Temple of Epiphany from Fear. That top card goes to the bottom. Harlan's mana. Okay, he does have Battlefield Forge. I was wondering if he was a little shaky, but he does have all 3 colors. He's just slow out of the gate, which this deck can be sometimes.
For sure, a lot of lands that come into play tap, not a lot to do on turn 2, and Harlan, the way that he's sideboarding, is likely to have less to do on turn 2 than he usually does because he's becoming more of a mid-range deck, more controlling, and his early drops are not as powerful for him as they are in game 1.
Still just a lot of 3-mana spells.
Yes.
I don't think that's ever going to change no matter how the deck is set up. There's Soulfire Grandmaster. Fear going to have to take 1 to cast that.
So Harlan has drawn his 1 sideboard copy of End Hostilities. So I think what he's trying to do is deploy enough to keep up the appearances that he doesn't have a sweeper while leaving himself with his best threats at the end of it.
Now, the tough part here, as you saw Jamoka's going to take care of the Soulfire Grandmaster. Now, Fleeceman Line's coming across for 4. I think we're going to have a Siege Rhino next, and we do. The tough part here for Harlan is that he only has 1 source of white mana at this point.
He's at risk of missing land drops. Also, if Jake simply goes monstrous with Fleeceman Lion, then on End Hostilities is probably off the table.
Yeah. Fortunate draw there for Fear in Battlefield Forge. So that's the 2nd source of white mana. And he also has the ability, just to stoke the flames this Fleeceman Lion right now, get that off the table, slow this down a little bit. And by doing that, perhaps he's able to get Mondello to attack with the Siege Rhino and then commit another threat or 2. I think that's got to be the big plan here. Mondello going to very quickly sacrifice this Windswept Teeth, so a forest or a plane's coming.
But Jake's still got some pressure going. Harlan's going to have to take 2 points of damage to cast the End Hostilities. I think Jake has Elspeth among his leftovers here, so even if Harlan is able to get a pretty juicy End Hostilities out of the arrangement, he's still going to be in trouble.
It's a morph. And there's that hostility. He's going to take 2 to cast it, so he's going to go down to 5. I believe the morph is a Den Protector, so this will be able to bring back something. There's the Den Protector. The rebuy was a land.
And that's just for Elspeth.
There's your son's champion. There's planes. 3 soldiers, pass the turn back. See if Fear can work his way out from underneath this now. And Valor stands to draw. Not a great draw right now. And again, you can see for Harlan, the mana's all there, but it's painful.
Well, he kind of stumbled out of the gates a little bit. His draw was a bit slow, took some damage along the way, and Jake had one of the more aggressive draws that his deck's going to generate. And all this is lined up to, you know, Harlan, it feels like he has the tools to maybe claw out of this, but just not the time.
Yeah.
Because Mana Strider can start doing some work on Elspeth next turn, and he's got to take through time. He's got cards to work with, but I think this just might be too much too soon.
Mondello is sitting here rather comfortably, as there is Mantis Rider. Harlan will have to take 1 to play it. Pass the turn back. He's down to 4. Obzon Charm doesn't seem too bad here. That'll clear this out of the way. And we'll see an attack. I have to imagine 3 more soldiers coming, and perhaps an aggressive use of Obzon Charm. Yep. Distribute some +1/+1 counters and move this thing along. Jake Mondello is going to win game number 2 here against Harlan Fear. Obzon Megamorph and Jessica Agro will get ready for a 3rd one now.
I wonder with all these morph creatures in the graveyard kind of mattering more if Banishing Light's supposed to get dusted off a little bit.
Yeah, you know, we haven't seen it for a while.
Yeah, I think it might be time. Because these Obzon decks don't really destroy enchantments very well.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of decks don't destroy enchantments very well.
Not right now. I mean, it's not been a priority for a while because Banishing Light's been kind of out of things.
But it's also weird because, while I agree with you that they don't destroy enchantments very well, Dromoka's Command is kind of just looming over the format
That's true.
of this card that can see a lot of play, but maybe you can just overload Dromoka's Commands with a bunch of enchantments.
I don't know if Dromoka's Command is the kind of card you can overload in that way because it's so versatile that if you play into more and more, it's not like you overload it because the sequences where it comes up and you've set up the board where they're getting 2 good things out of your side of the table, you can't come back from that. a lot of the time.
That's fair.
Because Banishing Light at the end of the day is still just a one-for-one trade. It's not like it's game over by any stretch. So I don't think that's the type of thing you can overload.
See, Harlan's going to re-sideboard here a little bit. Jake is going to look through his deck. So they'll get ready for game number 3. We'll very quickly talk about the Star City Games Spring Sale. The month is almost over, but there's still some time left to get some sweet deals.
Yeah, you can over to the website now, and plenty of stuff is on sale. And at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, the website gets updated every day. And it comes with individual cards, sealed products, sleeves, other products. So it's honestly, a bunch of random stuff that goes up. There's definitely themes to the way that the sale is run, but you'd be surprised what goes up there. So you're in your best interest to go back to the website every day, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and see what's gone up.
Bunch of sweet new stuff taking place. Sales are sweet. There's some fun things.
Speaking of which, I had to go to the booth today and pick up my order.
See, you're welcome.
I totally forgot that I placed an order that was actually something that was on sale and had it delivered to this show.
That's why I'm here.
Thanks, man.
Yep. We've come full circle on the spring sale.
Yeah, that's actually, I would have just completely forgotten about that otherwise.
Here's the thing. You should have them bring it to you. I know you're a man with a list of high demands.
No, come on.
So we'll radio them over. They will bring them to you and apologize.
That dealer booth is hopping at all times, and
they're pretty busy over there.
I don't want to add to their workflow for something that's really that arrogant and self-serving.
You got to get after those Commander versus guys. Stephen Green, Wes Wise over there. Got to show them who the boss is.
I don't
Justin
know.
Parnell.
They're pretty popular, so.
Well, it's hard not to love Stephen Green. Come on now.
It's true. I've said for a while now that I believe he's the great untapped talent that Star City Games has in terms of video, other media, spoken word, novels.
He's kind of your Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Like you just put a live mic on. Let's just see what happens. It could get interesting.
He grew up in, I believe, fairly rural North Carolina.
Yeah.
And he has some great stories.
He does. He is a storyteller.
He has some great stories.
And he loves himself some Magic cards.
It's true.
But don't we all?
That's why I really enjoy talking with those vendors, because they run the gamut. There's some of them who do play competitively, and you actually occasionally see them in opens and invitationals when you get the chance. And there's some of them that are strictly casual. So all the perspectives are covered there.
You get the full scope.
Which makes some of them excellent choices for the Commander versus video series.
Indeed.
Because Brian Brondawin, Brad Nelson, Todd Anderson, Chris Van Meter, great at producing content for Standard and Legacy. Not necessarily people that well-versed with the Commander format.
Also maybe a little too competitive for the Commander format.
Little too competitive.
CVM, he readily admits that he doesn't play Commander because he just can't turn off the competitiveness. Yeah. And he also just can't build a fun deck.
That's all you can ask for, right? As long as he's opting out of the experience due to self-awareness, that's a great place to be.
For example, 2 weeks from now, when we have a weekend off, I'll be playing Magic in Seattle off of an island with my friends, and one of the formats we'll be playing is Commander.
Mm-hmm.
And we've actually, it's kind of an occasion. Zach Hill is coming to hang out with us.
Okay.
It's his birthday. And so we've made a format called ZDH.
Okay.
Where the commanders are all Zach Hill's favorite cards. So, for example, one of the commanders is Tanglewire.
Yep.
Which doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Synergizes very nicely with the Commander rules because it naturally dies. Get
correct.
It right back.
That's correct. So that's one of them. Another one, my commander for this is Venser. So I had to build a Venser deck.
Which is actually Venser the legend.
Yes.
So actually a legitimate choice.
Absolutely. So I had to build a Venser deck on Thursday.
I'm sure a mono blue deck that's trying to make good use of Venser is going to be really fun for people to play against.
I Googled Venser commander lists actually on Thursday, and they're all obscenely good because all the blue cards are good.
Do you have Legacies Allure in your deck?
I don't think so.
You had to play with that card.
Okay, I've just been given no choice. That's great. I'm playing with a lot of absurdly busted blue cards in Soul Ring.
I think that Legacies Allure is near the top of my list of cards in Legacy that see no play and should get some amount of play. It's better than how much it shows up.
I can't argue that. So it's that's just one of the formats that we're playing. Actually, we're also I actually have a format to work with you.
Yes.
Later, we were doing a modern rotisserie draft. That's done though.
Mm-hmm.
We were doing something called back standard,
okay,
which I will explain later when we have a free down moment, and old extended as well. It's bring your own old extended deck.
Okay.
There are some rules and I think this will interest you.
Okay.
As Jake is going to take a mulligan here. Old standard, bring your back standard, excuse me. What it is you get to choose a standard deck that top 8 at a Pro Tour over the past 10 years.
Okay.
And you sit down at the table and you bring yours, and then you bring one, and your opponent bring ones, and then you swap.
So you had to find the worst deck that top 8'd.
Correct.
And what sets the cutoff?
I think it's like the year cutoff is from 2000.
Okay.
I think it is. If memory serves correct. So a lot of people have chosen the Howling Mine deck.
That's a risky choice.
It's very risky.
Because that deck's actually pretty good against some things.
Correct. It's a very risky choice. I know that Marvin Libert's Snow Ramp deck from Pro Tour Hollywood.
That's
good.
That does seem like a fine choice.
Good in the format.
Yeah.
Bad overall.
Yep.
Has been a choice that people have been making. It's a very fun format as we have a Temple of Triumph to start.
Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that all day now.
I Googled them all.
This format is right up my alley.
I selected a white weenie deck for the record.
Something with Soul Warden in it?
No, Craig Wesco's deck from Pro Tour San Diego with Trusty Machete. I have gifted my opponents for when we play 2 weeks from now. It does have Stoneforge Mystic, it just has none of the good equipment.
Sure.
As here's a Mastery of the Unseen. It's a Flooded Strand here for Harlan.
Mastery is a pretty slow burn in this matchup.
Super slow.
It does pull Jake out of burn range if he's able to stabilize the board and all that, but having mulliganed on the draw, this is probably not one of the cards he wants to see.
For me, it's actually a little surprising it's still in the deck. Because I understand that. I think it's surprising it's in the deck on the draw.
Yeah, to me, it would be near the top of my list of cards to remove in the abstract.
Yes. Here's a Mantis Rider. I'm going to provide some beatdowns right away. Mondello's draw for the turn, timely. And Obzon Charm. Don't know if he had an answer to that Mantis Rider otherwise. I'm sure with Mantis Rider, you can take one hit, but if you take two, a lot of the time, Jeskai ends up winning.
It looks like his hand's just a bunch of creatures, so this Mantis Rider was really bad news for Jake. But as you mentioned now, he can get off the table if he's feeling so inclined.
Yeah, he's thinking through some things right now.
The thing is, you'd prefer to have stuff in play when you're removing. You know, you want to be able to remove your threat and then start attacking you instead of being on kind of the back foot the whole way. But I don't feel like Jake can really afford to take another hit off this Mantis Rider if he can avoid it.
Windswept Teeth will be sacrificed. I think we're going to have a basic plains here in just a moment.
No, it looks like he's going with Courser this turn.
A little surprising?
Well, I think he's hoping that the Courser just yields the white mana he's then missing, or black. This is Max Greed play.
We have seen Max Greed be successful in the past. Talking about you, Chris Van Meter. All right, could also be casting, oh wow. Death Disruptor's a morph, maybe? Just gonna play Death. This is, of the options here, this is the most surprising to me.
Magic players, we need one more for our
There's
next
another attack.
commander, Todd. We have one
I mean, it
slot
almost
left
commits him to
for
casting Courser or
commander.
Krufix next turn.
Yeah. Here's a Narset. That one has a lot of loyalty. 7. Dig Through Time is a hit. We could see some rebounding now.
Yeah, Harlan, I believe, has Lightning Strike, 2 Lightning Strikes in hand, so there's quite a bit of rebounding to be done. I guess the reason that Jake had to take this line of play last turn is because his hand is so double green dense that he just has to have that as the first order of business.
Okay.
He did also have a Temple of Silence, so he has access to Obzon Charm 2 turns later. That's the worst case scenario. So that's not too bad, although it is risky. It looked weird, but I guess that's the logic here on Jake's side, is just he had to have double green for his hand to function.
Obzon Charm will take care of that Mantis Rider. And Deathless Raptor is going to start chipping away at Narset, though it takes a long time to get that thing off the battlefield. Top card here. thanks to the temple is what Harlan is looking at, deciding what he wants to do with it.
Got some good options here. He has the, if it's a spell, he can just leave it on top and Narset it. If it's nothing, then he has the option of rebounding if he wants to.
He got himself a negate. Now it looks like it's time for a lightning strike. So it looks like Harlan's comfortable playing a little bit of a longer game, which does make some sense given that he has 2 copies of Dig Through Time in hand and a Narset in play.
Exactly. I mean, even with Master of the Unseen at this point, Harlan's shaping up to have a much better late game.
There's a Courser. Planes will come in. Gain a little bit of life. Planes on top of the deck. Pass that turn back. Harlan will draw a card. Stoke the flames. Perhaps a burnout strategy is what he's going to be on. With an Narset there to rebound these burn spells doesn't seem too tough. First order of business looks to be a Flooded Strand. Sacrifice that, go down to 18. Plains or Island coming here for Fear?
He's got a couple pretty juicy options this turn. He can rebound the Stoke. He can even rebound Dig Through Time.
We have seen Shaheen Sarani do that before. There's Island. There's Stoke. See you later, Courser. And that is going to be rebounded. That's why the die is on top of the deck. Make sure he doesn't forget. We'll go back Jake's way. Temple of Silence, Plains available, along with Abzan Charm and Hero's Downfall.
And remember, Jake knows about the negate, so he can't just go ahead and downfall this Narset.
Yep. And Harlan has been wise to leave that available.
Yeah, this is really bad news for Jake, because his hand's just 2 spells. He kind of needs to get them both to resolve, and one of them does not if Harlan says so.
Narset has proven to be quite powerful. We haven't gotten to see a lot of it. You know, outside of the Season 1 Invitational where we saw Shaheen play it against Jim Davis and really run amok with it, hasn't really found a home. Haven't seen a lot of the card at all in any decks.
I think 1 copy in Jeskai aggro lists is totally reasonable.
Yeah.
In the main or in the sideboard.
Doesn't seem bad. But Jay can't even make a move here. I mean, leaving up mana represents obviously quite a few different things. Hero's Downfall, Abzan Charm, and activation of Mastery of the Unseen. So that's perfectly fine. Harlan going to take up the Narset, see if he hits again. He does with Valor Stance. A lot of spells in his deck after sideboard. And now he's got a Soulfire Grandmaster he's going to deploy.
I think the ceiling, or excuse, just it is a challenge to get Planeswalkers who don't impact the board and are on the expensive side into decks. That's all it comes down to.
Hero's Downfall time, seems.
Ashiok is cheap and often ends up impacting the board one way or the other.
Changes the way you have to play.
Exactly, at least some amount.
Yeah.
And it still doesn't show up all that much.
A Narset's a full turn later.
And you need to have a bunch of spells in your deck.
Yeah.
So I think Narset's definitely very powerful, but it's asking you a lot from you as a deck builder.
I don't think this card's power level could ever be in question.
Yeah. In the right decks and in the right board states, it's a game winner. And for Harlan, it's looking like this game is going to be a game winner.
That's what it seems like.
Doesn't happen all the time.
There's a Mastery activation. Now Jake will draw. And there's a Plains. passing of the turn. Harlan with Lightning Strike in hand is going to use that to take care of the manifest. Soulfire Grandmaster means that that spell has lifelink.
And this is bad news for Jake, because if your opponent with Soulfire Grandmaster and 6 mana in play and a Narset is saying, all right, I'll Lightning Strike your thing at the end of the turn, that means he really values his mana, and that implies that there's a lot going on in that hand.
I would not be feeling terribly confident given that this is the sequence of plays. Courser of Krufix might be the target here from the Den Protector that's been turned up. See what Mondello wants to target here. Got a couple of options available. Bob's on Charm, Hero's Downfall 2. But like you, I would not be feeling great if I'm on Mondello's side of the table. Courser's weapon of choice, Deathsmith Raptor, is going to come back. Harlan going to untap and get back to work with this Narset. The rebound mode on Dig Through Time. So Harlan gets to take a look at 7 now and take 2 with him, and he'll get to do it again next turn. One more. And it looks like he actually has a copy of Ojutai's Command that he can select if he'd like. 2 of those in his main deck. I don't see a lot of that card.
Stoke and Manus Rider as well.
Yep. Looks like Stoke is one of the options. Ojutai's Command is the other. And there's a Temple. Take a look at the top card. It'll become the bottom card. And die on top of the deck to make sure Harlan doesn't forget to rebound that Dig Through Time. We're going to head back Mondello's way. Harlan's doing very well for himself, obviously. But I think if you're him, you just kind of want to get this one over with.
Yeah, you know, Jake is kind of building up a bit of a card advantage engine here. He's potentially getting some life with the Mastery. And the sooner you close this out, the better.
Yeah.
Harlan feels like he's advantaged right now, but it's by no means a foregone conclusion.
Looks like we're going to have some sort of morph creature. Has the option between Den Protector and Hidden Dragon Slayer, does Mondello. You can tell he's a little unsure of himself on which one he wants to play. Also, of course, of Krufix in hand, too. And there's an Obzon Charm that's been in his hand for some time now that he has just not ever had the opportunity to cast.
Just feels very important for Jake to be able to squeeze out a couple points of life from this Mastery and this Courser if he can, while advancing his board as much as possible.
I think that is the utmost importance. We're not going to see a Green Devotion or Green-White Devotion-esque Mastery game.
Yeah.
It's just going to be little bit of life gain here and there. You're not going to be able to dump a bunch of manifests into play. I think that's what he's trying to figure out, is how to sequence all of these cards so that he can maximize what he can do with Mastery. He's going to start with Courser. That's going to be Ojutai's Command. This is going to counter the Courser and rebuy the Soulfire Grandmaster. That's why you saw the block so quickly. Okay, we don't see Ojutai's Command a lot. Just here's a morph. But it's actually pretty impressive when we do. Also very good with Soulfire Grandmaster.
Yep, we've seen that come up a little bit. And I really like getting back to Soulfire Grandmaster in that spot, because Jake's most likely follow-up there is a morph, if anything. He doesn't have the double green left over to cast a second Courser. And if his play is only a 2/2, he's looking at trading with a Soulfire Grandmaster or taking 2 points of damage. So the game may not go on for very much longer, and a morph just doesn't impact the board very much.
The rebound on Dig Through Time happens. Anger of the Gods, the draw. It's not too shabby.
No. Breaks up a lot of Jake's potential synergies here. And with Harlan having so many more cards in hand, access to so much more card advantage. It's a great insurance policy.
Here's an attack. Pretty confident one. I think we're going to see a block here. There's a Valor stance. There goes Hidden Dragon Slayer. The Lightning Strike, negate, dig through time. So many options here for Harlan. So which line does he want to pursue? How does he want to use his Narset? Looks like he's going to go up. Take a look. Stoke the flames. You know, Narset's really good when it never misses.
Oh, yeah.
It's really good. Just want to let you know. Really good card when it doesn't miss. That's pretty neat. Valor stance by creature, then cast Anger of the Gods.
Oh, combo.
Oh, fun times all around. And your Anger of the Gods has lifelink. That's fun, too.
Lots to like on that turn.
Absolutely. And Lightning Strike and negate at the ready. And nah, not quite. Not quite.
No.
Not just yet, Jake.
And Harlan with 11 points of burn in hand, too.
Yep. This is kind of, if you're wondering if Narset's good, this is the game you go back and watch and say, yeah, this is why I own Narsets and I want to play Narsets. It's a game exactly like this. Narset has been absurd this game.
You're at least seeing the potential.
Yes. Absolutely absurd. Jake is going to try to figure out something to do this turn, but I find it rather unlikely he's going to be able to find some sort of winning line here with Den Protector and Abzan Charm. Don't get me wrong, both those cards are very powerful, but Harlan's just going to untap. He's in no rush to fire off a burn spell. He'll draw a card. It's another Lightning Strike. And with enough red mana and the Convoke on Soak the Flames, he might be able to just get it done this turn. I wouldn't be surprised to see him be a little bit cautious just because he does have, you know, a negate in his hand and a dig through time and Narset going. So there's no real rush for him to win or him to take any real risks right now.
Exactly. He could have tried to go for the kill this turn.
Yeah.
He could have Lightning Struck at the end of Jake's turn, untap, and Stoke twice.
He's activated the rebound, and now here's an attack with Soulfire Grandmaster. Here's an activation. There's your manifest creature. There's a Lightning Strike. Abzan Charm. Den Protector, the cards here from Mondello. Here's an Abzan Charm try to make the manifest larger. See if Fear has any interest in negating this. Looks like he might.
At this point, there's no real spell that you're worried about.
Yeah, I think that's my conclusion too. You're not scared of like a card like Thoughtseize. Elspeth doesn't matter.
I mean, even Ugin.
Yeah, that one doesn't really matter because you have so much burn in your hand.
Yeah, you're rebounding the Lightning Strike here. Jake's falling to 5.
Yep. Negate will take care of the Abzan Charm. Soulfire Grandmaster gets to come on through. Mondello gets to untap. He's at 8. He has Den Protector in hand. He's draw for the turn of Caves of Koilos, and he's going to look at his graveyard for the Den Protector. Probably not find very many good options at this point. But he will begin with a Morph. I think we'll see him unmorph in just a second. Harlan wondering what's in Jake's graveyard, so Jake is more than happy to show him. And if Jake rebuys something like Hero's Downfall here, it's just so late to the game.
Exactly. Courser doesn't get enough life. A removal spell doesn't do enough. Harlan even gets to dig through time at the end step for his trouble.
Yeah. And Jake will go with Courser of Crucifix. See the top card, Mastery of the Unseen. Play a land, go up to 9. And Harlan will show you a bunch of burn spells. And that is going to do it. Harlan Fear is going to win this match over Jake Mondello. 2-1. Just Niagara will take care of Abasan Megamorph. Narset, welcome to Standard.
That was all about Narset. Harlan, I would have to go back and actually count it all up, but